Welcome to Math Plus, where math makes sense. This is a practice video. We are going to be practicing word problems only using fractions. All of the word problems will have addition and subtraction of mixed numbers. Make sure you watch the practice video first. In that video, you'll learn all the steps and how to do that. Actually, there are a lot of steps. Everything you've been learning, if you've been following the sequence in the playlist, you're ready to do this. I want you to read the story problem, pause your video, and then come back and see how you did. All right, let's read this one together. The biggest zucchini from Joe's farm is 2 5/8 pounds. So we do have fractions. It's the only thing that's different than any other word problem. You're just using fractions or mixed numbers instead of whole numbers, which you're used to. This zucchini from the farm is 2 5/8 pounds, which is 1 1/12 pound more than the average weight of zucchinis from his farm. What is the average weight of zucchinis from his farm? Well, I know. I like to draw pictures. I know in the lesson video she showed you a different way of making this easier, but what I like to do as well, you can choose what makes most sense for you, is kind of draw a picture. So his biggest zucchini, I'm just going to draw a big picture, is 1 1/12 pounds more than the average weight. So it's bigger, right? So the average one is smaller. Now these aren't exact sizes, but I'm showing you that this is his zucchini and this is the average one. This is the big zucchini. So what I need to do to get to the average weight, because it says this is bigger than the average weight, so I need to make it smaller again. Does that make sense? So I'm subtracting that off his biggest zucchini. So what I'm going to do, I've already written it out for you, is I'm going to take that bigger number and subtract that smaller number. Because remember, this is the biggest zucchini he ever got, and it's a pound bigger. So I need to know what the average size is that he usually gets. I need to subtract. Rule number one, when I see fractions, they need to have a common denominator. So I go over here and I list all the multiples of each number. Some of you may have known it just by looking at it. I listed them all and I see that 24 is the smallest common multiple. So what I need to do is turn these fractions into equivalent fractions with a denominator of 24. So 8 times what is 24? 8 times 3. Multiply the 8 times 3, and then I multiply the 5 times 3. Whatever I do to the top, or whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do to the top, and vice versa. 12 times 2 is 24, and 1 times 2 is 2. Now I can subtract 15 minus 2 is 13 over 24, and 2, I got to subtract my whole numbers. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now, you always want to simplify your answer anytime you're working with fractions, and I hope by now you've got that. If you're already doing this, then you pretty much have heard that several times. This number is already, the only two multiples of 13 are 13 and 1, so it's simplified. This is your answer, 1 and 13 over 24. We have another word problem. I want you to read it, take your time, pause the video, work it out, and come back. Now, we're still at Joe's farm. He has 2 pumpkin fields, and the total area of the 2 pumpkin fields is 3 2/5 acres. Sometimes I like to just underline the numbers because I know I'm going to be doing something with them, right? The big field yielded 3 2/5 tons of pumpkins, and the small field yielded 2 1/2 tons of pumpkins. What is the total yield of pumpkins? So we know we're talking about pumpkins. I want the total yield. This is where a lot of students make mistakes. They think that if there's lots of numbers in the story problem, they think they have to use all the numbers, and they don't. This is one of those, and I'm glad that this one's here. We're looking for the yield, the total yield. So since the word total is there, I know that I'm adding. What am I adding? Let's go back and see what each one of these numbers represent. This number here, what is this number? It says it has, it's the total area of the 2 pumpkin fields. Well, we don't need that information. We don't care about the area. We want the yield. So let's cross that out. We don't need that. Keep going. The big field yields 3 That's tons. Yeah, I want that. That's what was the yield. The yield means how many pumpkins did he get out of the field. The small field yielded 2 and 1/12 tons of pumpkins. So, yep, I need that number as well. So what I'm going to do is uncover my math problem. I'm going to add because I want to know the total yield. I also need to make sure that my denominators are the same, and they are not. I have all my multiples written down. Oh, there's a lot there, isn't there? I went through my 12s, I went all the way to 60, and then 5s. Now, right away, I would have known, because I know my 5s, that 60 is the common denominator, because I know my 5s, right? I can count by 5s, and I know I'm not going to get to 60 for a while. But if you need to still write them down, do that just to be sure. So we're going to turn that denominator into 60. That's a big number. Basically, what we're doing is multiplying 5 times 12. And just a little tip, if you have trouble with your multiples, you can always multiply the two denominators to get an equivalent denominator, but sometimes that number may be really, really big, and that's why we always look for the smallest. But that does work. Then you'll just have to do work at the end simplifying. It doesn't mean it's wrong. 12 times 5 is 60. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 12 is 60. All right, so now I can add 24 plus 5 is 29. Another tip I've talked about in other videos is, because I almost made that mistake, is to circle your operation. I almost went to subtract because we just did that. But if you have that problem, there's nothing wrong with circling the operation so you don't make that mistake. 3 plus 2 is 5, and this is your answer. Again, I know that this is simplified because 29 has only two multiples, 29 and 1, so I cannot simplify it, and that is your answer. That is the total yield. Good for you if you got that right, because that was a tough one. Make sure you go back to the description under the video, and there is a worksheet there. I always put worksheets. You can print them off. The answers are on there. Practice. This shows you that you've learned all your skills with fractions. This is a lot of steps, and if you can do this and you feel comfortable, you've really got your fractions pretty much mastered.